For years now, Chinese electronics companies have been accused of IP theft and iPhone imitation. Huawei is one of many Chinese companies that has fielded accusations of IP theft and of stealing off Apple. But over the past few years, the company's phones have evolved, which today brings us to the P30. The P30 and P30 Pro were unveiled in March, but since then, all of the attention has gone to the latter. The Pro has an intriguing quad camera setup and a seductive design, so the attention is warranted. But what about the P30? The regular P30 only has 3 cameras, and its flat 6.1-inch display is smaller than the Pro's curved 6.47-inch screen. But the phones run on the same processor and shoot similarly excellent photos. Yet the P30 is several $100 cheaper. Unfortunately, neither phone will be officially available in the US. It is, however, available in both the UK and Australia. For those in the US looking to import, the Australian price works out to be cheaper for both phones. Converting that price, the P30 goes to $790, while the Pro sells for $1,150. The important thing to stress is that the photos taken on the P30 are almost identical to the photos taken on the P30 Pro. Night mode on both phones is mind-blowing. Portrait shots on the Pro are slightly sharper, likely owing to its time-of-flight sensor, but only perceptibly so when comparing them side by side. Both phones have a nifty ultra-wide lens, which makes taking shots of groups and narrow spaces much easier. There is, however, one significant difference. While the P30 has an 8-megapixel telephoto lens for zooming, the Pro has a periscope lens. As a result, the Pro gets 5 times optical zoom, 10 times hybrid zoom, and an insane 50 times digital zoom. The P30, meanwhile, has 3 times optical, 5 times hybrid, and 30 times digital. But keep in mind, if you don't regularly use your phone camera's zoom function, you won't really be taking advantage of the Pro's biggest photographic distinction. There are some sacrifices you'll make if you go for the P30 over the Pro. It almost sounds silly, but for me, the biggest difference was actually how the phones feel. The P30 Pro, between its curved display and hefty weight, feels like a substantial, luxurious phone. The P30, by comparison, feels light and almost cheap. However, like the Pro's bigger screen, this could come down to personal preference. If you generally prefer small phones, you probably won't be so bothered. The P30 does like the wireless charging of the Pro, and it's only splash-proof while the Pro is waterproof. But in exchange for that, the P30 does give you a headphone jack. Meanwhile, both phones run on the same Kirin 980 processor, which is the same CPU that ran in last year's Mate 20 Pro. The phones lag behind the Galaxy S10, iPhone XS, and Pixel 3 in terms of benchmarks, as those phones all use more powerful processors. However, this is an example of benchmarks not really meaning much for practical use. The P30 is more than powerful enough to handle the most intensive tasks, such as playing 3D games like PUBG and Asphalt Legends. Meanwhile, the P30 has a spectacular battery life, lasting over 21 hours in our standardized battery test. The P30 Pro lasted even longer. The P30's biggest weakness is its software. EMUI 9.1 is Huawei's take on Android Pie, and is definitely a cut below pure Android. It comes loaded with bloatware, including a suite of Huawei apps that can't be deleted. It feels more cluttered than it should, and lacks the clean beauty of pure Android or iOS. This is less forgivable than ever, since Samsung has greatly improved its Android take, now called One UI, on its new S10 phones. But less than ideal software isn't enough to break an otherwise excellent deal. If you're willing to spend big on the best phone out there, the P30 makes a few too many concessions to fit that bill. Although, if excellent is good enough, and the idea of spending 4 digits on a phone makes you shiver, Huawei's P30 is a sweet deal indeed. For the full written review, check back to CNET.com.